Under the shimmering chandeliers of the Marquette Grand, the annual charity gala glittered with money, influence, and the self-assurance of those who had never had to scrub a floor. Waiters in white jackets wove between tables draped in linen, pouring champagne and offering caviar on silver trays. In the far corner, half forgotten beneath the hum of conversation, a slightly worn baby grand piano sat like an afterthought. At the center of the room stood Veronica Aldridge-Fedotoo, sleek in emerald silk, a smile honed for cameras and society pages. Known for her quick tongue and her love of turning small moments into spectacles, she rested her manicured fingers on the piano lid and addressed the nearby cluster of donors and reporters. "If anyone here can play this piano flawlessly," she said with a sly smile, "I'll marry them tomorrow." It was the kind of remark meant to draw a ripple of laughter, and it did. Glasses clinked. A few people rolled their eyes affectionately. Classic Veronica. No one took her seriously. Except for the man in the navy work shirt refilling water pitchers near the wall. Elias Carter, 28, had been a janitor at the Marquette for less than a year. Usually invisible, he paused, set the pitcher down, and stepped forward. "Do you mean that?" The laughter faltered. Veronica turned toward him, startled not by the question, but by the fact that it came from someone they all knew only in Pasinga face without a name. "I suppose I do," she said, amused. "Why? Thinking of auditioning?" A couple of guests chuckled under their breath. But Elias didn't answer with a smile. He walked to the bench, ran a hand over the piano's edge, and said evenly, "If you're serious, let's see how serious you really are." The crowd leaned in, expecting a train wreck. Elias sat down, his work uniform a stark contrast against the glossy black wood. His fingers touched the keys, testing them. The first notes were slow, measured. Someone whispered, 30 seconds, tops. Then the melody shifted. His hands began to move with fluid certainty, weaving patterns that didn't just fill the room, they pulled it into focus. Conversations halted. The laughter died. Even the staff at the back paused mid-step. The music was rich, layered, alive. It wasn't a party trick. It was a story without words. Veronica's smirk thinned. She had thrown out a line for amusement, now she was watching the current pull her in. Elias played on, blending aching softness with bursts of intensity. The air in the room tightened. Even those who wanted to dismiss him couldn't. A woman leaned toward her husband and whispered, "Where did he learn that?" Nobody knew. When he finally stopped, the last note hung in the air, trembling. Then came the eruption: cheers, whistles, applause that had nothing to do with politeness. Elias lifted his hands from the keys and sat back, calm as if he hadn't just stolen the night. By morning, the video was everywhere. Millions watched the janitor who'd silenced a ballroom. Praise poured in, but so did commentary about talent, about class, about how quickly people judge a man by his clothes. A still image of Veronica's stunned expression became a meme. Some accused her of condescension, others defended her as the one who gave him a stage. Veronica's publicist urged her to seize control of the story. She reached out to Elias, who met her days later at a quiet cafe. She apologized genuinely, it seemed for turning him into a punchline. She told him the performance had moved people, that she could put him in front of audiences who'd come to listen. Elias hesitated. Music had always been private, born from a chipped $50 piano his mother bought at a church sale. He'd taught himself in the quiet of his home, between shifts, never seeking a spotlight. But then a woman stopped him in the hotel lobby. Her toddler in her arms, she told him his music had been the first thing to bring peace to their home since her husband died. "I know you didn't play for us," she said, "but it mattered." That was the moment he called Veronica back. "If the offer's still there," he said, "I'll take the stage." 2 weeks later, At the National Arts Benefit in Dallas, the theater lights rose on Elias Carter. This time, the applause was warm before he'd even touched the keys. He played for 40 minutes his own compositions, the piece from the gala, and spoke between them about how people rarely see the full story in a glance. The crowd stood when he finished. Afterward, strangers shared their own abandoned dreams, their dusty instruments, their quiet talents. And Elias realized that his music was no longer just his, it was a bridge. Outside, Veronica told him, "You could make this a career." He smiled. "Maybe. But even if I don't, I know what I carry matters. Sometimes the right moment finds you, and you'd better be ready." That night, walking into the cool air, Elias didn't know if this was the start of something bigger or just a story he'd tell someday. But he knew one thing: his music would never be hidden again.